I just wanted to follow up just briefly with this video. So in this, if you follow this this 3 part, now this is the fourth video in a 3 part series where I was talking about the good, bad, and ugly. I did want to come back with a little bit of sober commentary because I was making some heavy-handed compliments. I'm sorry, heavy-handed comments, insights, and also humor, and also I leveled some heavy names with that. And I don't mean to be flippant about neither the names that I mentioned, even the people that I experienced in life, but also the solemn names that I mentioned. So maybe these kids that I'm giving these royal names to that I grew up with are now mentioned in the same video, if not the same breath, as some of the most solemn figures in allegory, if not spirituality, which are not necessarily different. And you could say our life itself is an allegory, and it doesn't have more meaning or less meaning than an allegory, or more reality or less reality than an allegory. So these figures, these eminent figures and deities in our life and in our childhood, who actually yet affect us in our development almost as significantly as a real great figure would, if we're being honest with perspective. I don't mean to be flippant about any of that. And then I wanted to add just a little bit of context. So again, I have one thing is that I was making that video and I was talking about white this and black that. And I want to point out that all people, I've made a post in another forum that all people suffer hatred as a function of appearance. I would say male, female, other, black, white, other, any combination of any of that. All people experience hatred and marginalization to different degrees at different points. And so it may be, and I've said in another video that it may be hatred and bigotry that is the only non-bigot, because hatred does not discriminate from anyone. I just want to say that we all experience pain. But sometimes if you have to appreciate the context, the history of the context that you're in. And we in the United States, but then maybe a lot of the world also, because the world is affected by American culture. That's I don't want to I don't think I'm going to cite any source on that, but it has been recognized that the American culture is very influential, and a big part of America. You can't isolate the culture from the history. And I've made different videos about about violence in the United States, and my father would be the first one to say that you cannot isolate violence from the context and the history, which is yet present. History doesn't stop being history, and so that history is influencing us, informing us, and we are experiencing history as we're living history and as we're creating history to be further experienced. So in the United States, I was just pointing out that we have existed within a caste system for a long time, and it can be reason that we yet do still have a caste system on many levels. It has been more above and below ground at different points, but I would say, in my experience living in the North, and actually a point that had once been a terminal point for the Underground Railroad, according to the great Judge Joe Brown, is that I see some of these racial attitudes and tensions actually redoubling, and I would say they've maybe been worse than they've been at other times. I wasn't here to experience the 60s and 70s. I was here for for part of the 80s and then the 90s and so forth. And I would say that right now it's about as thick as it has ever been, at least for someone like with my appearance, where that, and you have it in time of slavery, in different periods of racism, colonialism, feudalism, industrialism, now digitalism, is that there have always been winners and losers of all backgrounds. So this beast that we're up under, just because a person is of a certain appearance doesn't mean that they're getting the long or the short end of the stick. You have people of all backgrounds and appearances getting both the better and the shorter end of the stick. But I would say that for me, I just personally end up having the shorter end of the stick, more so at the hands of people that, or at the maybe the mouth, the hands, the eye contact, the gesture, the decisions, the influence of people that look like me and don't look like me is quite thick. But I want to say that it is true that these terms, white and black, they have a lot of history, but some of them have actually been actual proper code names and legal designations of status within the caste system. And yet, like I said, we still have that caste system. An example of that is like the cahoots between different employers. and then also somewhat the medical establishment within the education, medicine, and employment. They overlap and they collaborate and they conspire to mitigate and marginalize different people and ascribe different opportunity and deprive different opportunity. So and the justice system also. And so it amounts to a form of caste system by and large. And I haven't got the absolute worst of it, but I damn sure haven't got the best of it. And maybe I'm better off for that because I'm maybe more realer and more effective at the lower rung. Your lower rungs closer to the grassroots are always going to be your more influential support. What's more important, the higher end of the totem pole or the lower end of the totem pole? And what holds up the higher end of the totem pole? What would the eagle be like up there without the beaver holding that shit down? I don't mean to say that disrespectfully, because totem poles are solemn and beautiful and spiritual, but yet the lower rungs of a totem pole are very significant in fact in fixing and fashioning the higher ends, and they're not possible without the lower ends. So actually, to maybe be more so humbled by life and experience, and yet be able to overcome different things, and yet support people coming behind and also people higher up. That's no less a great station. So I don't want to complain, but there's a history of marginalizing and castigating people that we are still undergoing, and it is reflected in what's called white and black, and how we appreciate different people with our limited understanding of those terms and how they have functioned. And so that it is true that sometimes people who would appear or be appreciated as being white subconsciously and consciously get a little bit of favor and privilege because of that. And then the opposite is also true. But again, there's no hard fast rules, and there's no rule without an exception. So I'm not going to say that's what it is and always is. But it is something that I experienced a lot, and I wanted to point that out, that we all suffer, and none of us win unless all of us win. I think a gay rapper once said that. I listened to a gay rap song about maybe 10 years ago. I don't know the man's name, but he said something about if all of us aren't free, none of us are free. He said something that cold once, and I shout out to that man for that. That was a dope ass line, if not the dopest one I've ever heard in any rap song. So shout out to the gay rapper, the gay man, or gay person, the beautiful person. But I wanted to put that out there, is that we all suffer, but we all do yet experience the dynamics of appearing or not appearing black. And part of it is that when a person appears white, sometimes they get deference. The author Shahrazad Ali said that a person will tell a white person anything they know and don't know, as they think it is pleasing to the white person as an instinct, and that's largely true. Watch how comfortable, watch how much you open up around someone that you appreciate as being white, whether or not you are appreciated as being white. Watch how forthright and forthcoming you are around someone who you consider white. It's interesting like that. But the people who might actually give you I think that if you have in my experience, I'm something of a, like, if you look at that video of me dancing, I dance like I'm both white and black, and because you can't actually dance outside of what your experience is and who you are. But I'm something of a white boy that can pass for a soul brother. I've been called not black by people who are from a black background, and that's not disrespectful. They're actually just saying like how they perceive me. So I have been appreciated before as being actually a white boy that had thought he was black, or could pass for being black. But then I'm also something of a soul brother who can pass for being white at least I can get past it. I can get smooth past a phone screen if I have to, sounding like this or that, but actually thinking like this or that, and appreciating this or that. But I wanted to say that, like, sometimes I was thinking to myself, I was watching a video yesterday where they were asking a white brother, like why are white men so mad when they have the world on a platter, and giving him a hard time. But I was thinking to myself that I don't know that I know all people have their shortcomings, white, black, both. All people have their shortcomings and things that are just whack about them. All people have that. And then all people also do have strengths. And sometimes strengths are a part of a family, where you might, like me, I would fancy my brother and myself as being a little bit artistic. We have been a lot of our life. I was more so visually artistic when I was young, and then I moved into becoming musical. But he was more so of a dramatist and talented in like the acting arts. but then he leaned more into like writing and visual art, but he would be artistic. But human families are similar, where different human groups can have trends of strengths. Like one is that I think maybe like people of a Caucasian background, it's been said that Caucasian people have a little bit of a lighter bone density in terms of statistically, and maybe some of your strongest swimmers. So you look at a lot of your outstanding swimmers, and they have a certain look to them. It might also be similar like with skateboarders, where like some of my friends were some badass skateboarders, but I could never get that good at skateboarding like them. It might actually be something of a feature of the bone structure. And then you take just different like social and intellectual gifts. That I've benefited greatly from the continent of India. And if you look at the continent of India, a lot of their insights, whether that be medicine or or astronomy or music, literature, those are not poetry. Those are not different subjects, disciplines in itself. One could say that all disciplines are yet a feature of romance, and are unified in that setting. When you can unify things that don't seem anything alike, you have achieved insight right there. That was from a book about songwriting about Paul Zalo, where he interviewed different outstanding songwriters that really fashioned our experience of the 20th century and currently, such as like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, stuff like that, the Beach Boys. And one of them in there was saying that when you combine things that are disparate, that means different fundamentally, to form a unique connection, you have achieved insight right there, and you have gained understanding. I got a little bit lost my train of thought, but I just want to say that I was watching this video about this person giving a hard time to people who are Caucasian. And again, I said that all people experience suffering and bigotry no less than Caucasian men. And that would be an example right there of giving this man a hard time for being Caucasian, as though they're any different. But I noticed that in some of my experience of life is that some of the real friends I had, like but what I was saying is that in India, with the different disciplines of India, they have a keen understanding for capacity for subtlety. I would say as a family, and broadly speaking, a lot of people of the continent of India, which each person is unique. Me and my brother are nothing alike, yet we are from one family, and we do share a similarity in our experiences and heritage as beings, as coming into being genetically in our ancestry, but also in this life we have similar experiences and influences and capacities. And so I think that maybe if you were to appreciate the continent of India, it's much of that about whether it's what's called philosophy, real love of wisdom and learning, or medicine, or art or literature or astronomy. They have a knack for mastering and appreciating and enunciating very subtle dynamics. The great order Osho is an example of that. If you listen to his discourses, the subtlety of things that are right in front of your face, right under your nose, but he can lay a finger on it and he can make you aware of something that had been under your nose, and you can become better from that. That's one strength that I appreciate of the family of India, generally speaking. But I don't mean to be arbitrary or violent about applying either ascribing a compliment or an insult to any people, because that can be equally egregious and limiting to people, because people can be anything they want to be, anything they are to be. But I've noticed that a lot of Caucasian men, the friends that I've had who have been Caucasian, if you have a male friend who is Caucasian and he considers you his friend, he's easygoing and stuff like that. But when there had been a problem, whether if that problem was like a freestyle problem, like outside of formality, you didn't know that he had actually been a Boy Scout that whole time when he was little, and you didn't know that he had been up hunting with his family, and you didn't know that he was good in the dramatic arts, and you didn't know that he actually did his homework sometime, and he had some tricks for like memorizing words, and he can figure out how to do some stuff pretty cold. A white boy could. Or if it's above ground, you didn't know that he'd actually take some time out from work to go down to City Hall and actually say something to his ombudsman on your behalf of that fucked up shit they did over you. So my brother is a firebrand in himself. He more so passes for being Caucasian with his skin tone, and he has a best friend from childhood who's also Caucasian and is successful. They're both outstanding men. And my brother is a firebrand in the first place, and I wouldn't want a problem with him even being his own brother. But yeah, I would think twice about having a problem with him just because of the quality of his friend and his friendship. His friend would his friend's not a baseball player, but I think he would go to bat on any field on my brother's behalf if it came down to it without too much notice. He might even call off work to go play baseball somewhere on my brother's behalf, and that's how thick how close up in a bean pod a white person can get with you when they're your friend. And I had a friend growing up like that who was half Native American and half Caucasian. And he checked when I was a nobody, a proper nobody, working as a pharmacy clerk where I live. And I didn't get I actually like that. I didn't get a fanfare. So I'd go to work and I'd be a pharmacy clerk, and I'd be very nice to all the people that came in there of all the different members of the community, and I'd do my best to show respect and show love to them. And then I'd go home and I'd watch the same film, Casino, I think, with Robert De Niro. I must have watched that film approaching 500 times. Just I really like the swimming pool in there. There's one part where like this guy, he's like a now there's different type of gangsters. You have like your dirty gangsters, and then you also have like your politicians and your businessmen that are like upstanding, but they're still somewhat gangster. And this one gangster, he was like, he owned a hotel, and there's like this scene of a swimming pool where he was too classy and too busy making money to have anything to do with the swimming pool, but he somehow looked cool just being around a swimming pool. I really like that vibe of like a classy, well-to-do person dressed well and in the vicinity of a swimming pool, yet not deigning to get wet in a swimming pool. I really like that look. And then I follow that up with like I'd watch Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, which is a really great love story. It's more so of a love story than it can be appreciated on the surface, about outstanding swordsman dying without issue and dying while trying to seduce outside of honor the love of his life, who was the former fiance of his comrade who fell in arms with him. It's a deep movie about trying to pass on your heritage and your lineage as a man, but also as a teacher, because he failed to yet to seduce an understudy disciple that he wanted to pass on his best to. So he wanted to pass on his love to his love interest, and he wanted to pass on his skill to a Ronin and a female disciple of much promise, who was yet troubled by a uncanny and freestyle, self-style Ronin of a master, the colder figure in that film. I think maybe one of the coldest figures in Allegory. Shout out Jade Fox with that one. So I would be this very nobody, and then I'd regurgitate those films as I would go home each night, because I wanted to get it right. I wanted to watch them all the way through just right. So I watched them constantly, and then like, no, but I had left a couple minutes on that, so I'm gonna have to watch that again yesterday. So my life, the life of a clerk who enjoyed gangster and karate movies or martial arts films, had been my life. And nobody was worried about me at that time except my friend from way in the past in childhood, who would check up on me. He was both Caucasian and Native American, but he more so appeared Caucasian. That would be his phenotype. Your genotype is your actual genetic heritage, and your phenotype is the expression of your genes and what that amounts to in your strengths and strong suits, and also your limitations, not the least of which your appearance. But he would check up on me like a real friend would, and then he's like, I'm gonna get up there to your city, man, and I'm probably gonna end up showing you the town when I get up there. And he would have been right about that. But I once had a windfall in my life, and I journeyed out there without planning, and just on inspiration. And I stopped by his mom's house, because that's the last place I had known where he was at. And he had been up on his feet. He had a beautiful fiance at that time that he ended up having a beautiful son with, the last I heard. And his fiance was an outstanding dancer, and he supported her in that dancing. And he became a dancer, just supporting his wife, who's an actual dancer. And he challenged me to a dance off, and I still owe him to get back for that, because we got to settle that shit, man. But he was when I stopped by his mom's house, he had moved out of his mom's house. He was still in his mom's life, but he had moved out of his mom's house. And I saw his old bedroom from childhood, and it was still there for him, because a mother's gonna leave her son's. I said in another video that in the East, it said that a mother tends to know her son very well, especially if he's an only son, and he had been her only son. Sometimes only children are really cold for some reason. I don't know why, but a lot of only child are very gifted in many ways. I had another friend who's another badass that I owe a video to in terms of fitness, that had been an only child. But when I dropped in his bedroom, there was nothing in there but a picture of me and him from that time when I was fancying myself a basketball player when we were little kids, because he was my real competition that got me to be cold, playing one-on-one a lot. And There was nothing in his room but a picture of me and him walking away from a bus, and like looking at some books, and not even aware that a picture was being taken of us, but yet together. That I think my mom had took that picture, and that was the only thing in his bedroom. Not having heard from me for about 4 or 5 years, having moved out of his mom's house but still being in his mom's life, that was the only thing in his room to show you what kind of a friend he was or how he felt about me. And to say that sometimes when you have a friend who is Caucasian, to write people off is really unfair. Is all I'm saying with this one. I've known some great people who are Caucasian, and I yet know great people who are not Caucasian, and like such as like African and African American, who gave me the very seasoning to survive a lot of hell, and somewhat thrive to actually to manage to look like I do now, having come through hell and not get maimed enough not to look like I look now, is from knowing some soul brothers, I would say. But I wanted to put that one as a to follow up that type of statement I made with the last video about white and black. But then I also wanted to say that and that those are code words and cast words from an arbitrary system of appropriating privilege, based on arbitrary means, no less than arbitrary notions of racism, which is probably deeper, is just simple nepotism and keeping privilege within lines across arbitrary terms. More so probably a family, and is a feature of gentrification. Is nepotism is a tenant of gentrification, and I would say that racism is a tenant of nepotism. Nepotism doesn't always have to go down. It can also go to your cousins or your just anyone that you appreciate as being like you, and hoarding privilege along that. It would be nepotism, and a feature of racism, if not the essence of racism. But those words, white and black, are legal code words designating a caste system, and they amounted to, are you sovereign or not, or are you a false person, is what those are. But then the other thing is, I just want to follow this up, is that I had mentioned that name, Chicana, in that first video, and I don't mean to make light of that. That might be an awesome and solemn word. You know, a lot of people, you say the word God, right, and you say that like that's the greatest word, but there's a little bit of reticence when you say that, because when you say God like that, you're saying that, you're not saying that like it's total. You're saying that what you appreciate as God is, you appreciate that to be good. And the word God, actually, as I understand from Tashriq Bey, is derived from the word from a German word that actually means good. When you're saying God, you're saying good, in a Germanic etymology, as I understand that word. But you can't say good without implying bad. When I simply say good, I am the most good person. I am the most good person where I live. Now, I just called a lot of people bad right there. Right? You can't hear me say that without implying that a lot of other people would have to be bad for me to be good. You can't actually have bad outside of good. That's a problem. That's what people get. You know, you go to church, right, and you see people saying these heartfelt prayers. We're praying for them as they're coming over the highways and byways, and they're going to make it in here, and they're trying to be more and more good, but yet you feel them bringing on the devil more and more. The more and more so good they talk about, the more and more bad you infer, and then they have to address that bad, and then they have to talk down against the bad by saying good. So when you're saying the greatest of great as God, as good, you're not saying all that there is. When I say because God is going to call it down. Now, as soon as I say God, you can hear the devil hiding in that, on the backside of that word. And actually, I think the word dog, if you reverse the word good, you have the word dog. And you can't really say, and God had, when you say God, you can hear the enemy right there with that. You can hear that he has an enemy. If I say the Bulls, man, back in the 90s, man, the Bulls were, when I say Bulls like that, you can hear all the other teams, because there can be no expression of Bulls without the contrast of what makes the bull is going up against everything that would have a problem with a bull, is what makes a bull. You can't have the bull without resistance. You can't have the strength without resistance. You can't have the God without the devil. So when you're saying God, you're actually not saying total. That's not a total statement. To say God is not a total statement, because you can imply what would be different to contrast that, to make that God. You can't have God without something to you can't have God without a platform to stand on something. So you need a devil to have a God, if we're being honest. But when you say Chitgana, you're saying massive consciousness. That's not limited. That's unlimited par excellence. Massive consciousness. So you're saying all, light, dark, good, bad, ugly, all that with that word. So is that then more of an absolute word than God, Chidgana? So I just wanted to put that one out there, but also be respectful, and then say that. So when we say God and devil, that more so we assume those to be masculine terms. They sound masculine when you say that, but the coldest things are actually more so androgynous. To give myself a flower, my name is androgynous. It can be applied to a male or a female where I come from, and my name simply means to give thanks. My middle name, it refers to a son, so my name is to give thanks for a son, and that is a beautiful name that my father gave me. And if I had a child, I can't think of a more beautiful name to, or for a daughter. I don't know what the word for daughter would be. I think it might be what is it? What is it? One word is Itamahok Manaki. That means like a wild man, and I actually look like an Itamahok Manaki where I'm from. Something. So that's a cool word, Itamahok Manaki. But I forget the word for daughter. But if I could have a word that said give thanks for a daughter or give thanks for a son, that's a beautiful name right there. If not as beautiful as anything. But also sometimes regular names are really cold and really cool too. I've had my first girlfriend, one of the better girls in high school in ninth grade. I think I actually managed to have some of the more outstanding athletes a little bit. I had a lot of people jealous of me in ninth grade because I had a really bad girlfriend, and I put in another video that I had got punked out by a girl in for sitting at the front of the bus of social studies, and then so I didn't have enough heart. I didn't have as much heart as Rosa Parks. And again, was greater, male or female? Because Rosa Parks wouldn't let that one slide. But I got punked out of the front of the bus, and I sat by one of the bad guys. He's like, man, I wouldn't have stood up for her, man, and he meant it. But then he also challenged me to step up to a beautiful girl in that class, and me and her actually end up changing lovers and having puppy love for the first semester of ninth grade. And there's no love like puppy love. There's no falling in love like that first one, like in high school. You know, the ones in elementary school, like Joe I talked about, they're cold and you won't forget those ones. But the ones in high school, there's something that moves in you. You are that person they have your heart in your hand anytime they're around and not around. And so I'll always remember that puppy love I had, and we didn't get anywhere past talking on the phone. And she said one time on New Year's Eve of that ninth grade, like that, I was hanging out with this other dumbass, wasting my time. He wasted a lot of my childhood, and he also wasted that New Year's. And she had been looking for me that night, and she was like, she actually wanted to get to know me a little bit past talking on the phone that New Year's Eve of ninth grade, no less than was that two? No, that had been 2001. So it wasn't the party of 1999, but that was the party of 2000, New Year's 2000 going into 2001. The real party is the after party. But but I had missed that opportunity because I was with this other dumbass, and then and I think I was talking to him from the family. There was a lot of dumbass stuff that happened in his family, and I was at their well-to-do house talking with her on the phone on New Year's when she had been missing my company. But dang, I got off with that one. But but I had her taken off. I had already before that had her taken off my hands by someone named Mike. And some of the coldest people I've ever met. I had a bad manager once who he got me out of a lot of debt because he taught me how to get by. He taught me how to get up and down the street and make money while I do it. And then he also encouraged me to fuck myself over once again and do it without his help to get cold for real. So that first time of him getting me out of trouble was just a lesson, but he needed me to get into trouble on purpose and get out of trouble on purpose without his oversight to really be on par with him. And I'm still busy with that the second time. I fucked myself over well enough the second time, but I'm still managing it. But I'm getting yet stronger in it, like he had promised I would. So shout out to Mike. I should have called him Killer Mike because he was a real killer and he was nice enough not to kill people that didn't have it coming. And I also thought that he was an alien somehow. I thought that he had been, because he could do things with he could hold down a pizza store by himself when getting slammed by himself in such a way as a human should not be able to. And then he taught me how to make pizzas, and I was a little bit goofy with it. I had talked about swimming and skateboarding, and making pizza is another thing that you can't do it without a little bit of natural ability. Go and get yourself a job as in a pizza shop, and try to do maybe the coolest thing of all time, maybe the greatest superpower, greater than asking questions in practice, which yet also requires questions in practice, is flipping dough. Am I lying? Is there anything colder than flipping dough, than making dough? If you can make something out of dough, you can make something out of anything, and you can have a lot of people appreciate you and your dough. And but flipping the dough like that, you can't do it without personality. The way you make dough, the way you flip dough, like all dough, it's a function of your personality, and you can't quite flip dough like another person can. That doesn't mean you can do it better or worse, but you can't do it like another person can. This one guy, he used to flip dough, and then he'll throw the pizza on his foot, on his dirty sneakers, as he's making a pizza that people are going to eat, and then he'll kick it back up into his hand, and then he'll make a cold pizza out of it, and that's a badass pizza right there. I paid more money for that pizza than a pizza that had not been on his foot, because that pizza has flavor and character and a story now, more so than any other food that you might eat. Um, I'm planning to make my way out to a place that's famous for pizza, before I get the hell out of Dodge. And I wonder if they have anyone that quote at making pizza there, even though they're famous for making pizza, and we weren't in a place famous for making pizza. But you can't do certain things without doing it your way, because that's how it's done. Is it's done your way. The coolest things, you have to do it your way, and you can't do it like another person. Um, but um, but one time I had this kind of goofy way of making pizza, but the big dog, regional manager, had been visiting us one morning, and then he saw me make a pizza the way that Killer Mike taught me how, where you make the rim of the pizza like a pencil. You make it about, see, a lot of people make it way too thick, as it would seem cool, like it would seem like it should be, but when you bake it, it expands when you bake, so it's not going to be right unless you have made it very fine like a pencil. You want that rim like a pencil. And he had taught me that, but it took me a while to do that. The one thing I did cold there is that when we were getting slammed, I would be using my left hand, because at that time I started training my left hand. Because I thought if I ever got in trouble, I'd want to be able to use my left hand, because people wouldn't be expecting that. And you can't get good at, you can't trust something unless you've been through danger and trouble with it and hardship with it. So I would always, while we're getting slammed in there, I'd be using my left hand and saucing pieces with my left hand. And another girl named Joe, the same type of Joe that I had fallen in love with when I was a kid. She one time called me a ninja, and she actually called me a bad A one time. No kidding. Behind my back, I was in earshot, but behind my back, she said he's a bad A and also a ninja. And I think it's because that Mike had gave me clout, because the regional manager was like, when I was in there, the regional manager said that I make a good pizza, and there's this other driver, and he did such and such. He said, yeah, but the regional manager didn't say you made a good pizza. The regional manager didn't say you made a good pizza. he said that he was giving me my flowers right there. Yeah, but you didn't make a good pizza. The regional manager didn't say you made a good pizza. He was dope for that. And then one time we were having a meeting around New Year's, because it was like an all hands on deck kind of meeting. He's like, some shipping coming up missing out the safe, motherfuckers. And don't think I won't send your asses to jail about that shit. I don't care if it's $20. Your ass is going up. Your ass is going upstate. Your ass is taking you're getting a free bus ride upstate if we're gonna find out which one of you motherfuckers have been taking that $20, because this shit is real. But then at the same morning, that same meeting, he's like, yeah, but I'm gonna need y'all to we got a couple vets around here, Louis T. We got a couple vets around here. He gave me some big dog. He called me out while at the meeting where he was breaking it, the all hands on deck meeting where he was breaking everyone's balls. He actually gave me my balls at that meeting, and he gave me some clout in that meeting. Like, a matter of fact, like, motherfuckers, watch out for this T man around here. So I always remember him for that. But then you see, when you see, it's not what you get directly, it's what you get indirectly. So he gave me my props like that. And then I heard about it a little bit later from some of the bad mamas, where like I got a little bit of attention from the bad mamas. They're see, the bad mamas, they're smoother than us dumbasses. They'll come up, they'll make themselves known to you when it's appropriate and where it's appropriate, after they heard about how you get down. And it's not about how you tell someone how you get down, it's how they hear about how you get down. And so shout out to Killer Mike, and then shout out for some other beautiful women whose names all started with J, who showed me a little bit a love near about thereafter when I had forgot about that, because our real comeuppance comes back to us when we had forgot what we did. But I'm basically about masturbating in this video. But all I meant to say is that um so so um so the cold, sometimes the coldest names are androgynous and simple. And so some of your great, so I've known, and so I'm saying a name doesn't have to be from far away to be cool. My name is from far away, and I appreciate my name, but it's been a, I have to explain myself about my name, but then sometimes I can just call myself a magical creature, and it's the same thing, and I'm not lying, and it's more interesting and fun. So it took some experience to get there, but some names like Mike can be as badass, if not the badass, like the archangel Michael. Mike is a bad name. I've known a lot of bad men named Mike, and I'm sure maybe you can think of some cool people named Mike too. And then Chris is another one. Now Chris is androgynous, and that's why Chris is a beautiful. I love Chris. That's a cool name. I know the coolest people I've ever known, male and female, have been named Chris. If not like Big Chris or Christina or Chrissy. I haven't yet met a person named Chris, male or female, that wasn't cool in some way. And then I think Cody might be another one. That's another bad name that could be male or female, and it's as dope if it's male or female. And I just want to say that some of our greatest names are androgynous, and they're awesome because they're androgynous. And like sometimes you talk about like trans people, and some of the most beauty that I've seen in trans people can be the most feminine beauty I've seen has been trans beauty. The most masculine beauty has been trans beauty, and and then both of those together, as dynamic has also been trans people. Where so I just want to say that a lot of our greatest things are actually androgynous more so. And then so when I'm saying this heavy name of this beautiful, awesome, limitless name of Chitgana, which there's nothing you're not referring to when you say Chitgana. So you're not limited when you're saying that. Is that it doesn't have to be male or female either, and that it's probably more so of both, and more so greater because of being both. And I wanted to level that one. But we're all anything we want to be, and we can be called anything we want to be if we can live up to that. And that name is going to have a certain ring in it if we're honest and we do right by people with that name. If you do wrong by people with a name, it'll have a ring too. But I don't want to find out what comes behind that. But if we do right by people, our name will have a ring when it's said. And I think one day we won't be here to remember what the hell we were in this life. So this might be this. I don't even know what this is talking to you, because one day I won't be here to remember having said this shit. So you can give me all my props and you can cite me as a source, and I won't be none the wiser. But yeah, if I had been real, my name will have a certain ring in it. And I've said in another video that it might be the remembrance of a person that is the realest aspect, the realest shit about that person. I might get down with a pirate, and I'm all bored with the pirate, and don't get up on a ship with the pirate if you're not willing to go down with it when the cannonballs start flying, which they're about to start flying if you have any treasure on your hands, or if you're headed towards treasure with a reliable map. And then when it goes down, you don't want to jump ship on your pirates, but yet it might actually seem like you had jumped ship because you might have had to do something to get down with those other motherfuckers that got on your ship, and it might actually seem to like your mates like you had mutinied, and they might actually have to deal with you like you mutinied. And if you were really on their team, you wouldn't have a problem with them dealing with anyone who had mutinied. So don't get down with someone that you're not willing to go down with and to go down by. Most people would think about like what is an honorable death. Have you ever met someone so cool that it would actually be an honor to fall at their hand in front of them for them to give you your death? Your friend gives you your best opportunities and your best looks and your best glances from a female, your best opportunity to get your rocks off around a bad one. If they didn't give you an opportunity to get your rocks off around a bad one, they hadn't been your friend. But yet, would you be honored for them to also take your life? Because your friendship has the implications of life and death. Some of our opportunities to live and opportunities to die are a function of who is our friends and who we become around our friends and who we encounter around our friends. So you're willing to receive the blessings of life from your friend. Have you met someone cool enough that you would be honored to die at their hand? But then even if you had died at their hand, and because they thought that you fucked up, but then they found out that you had actually been real that whole time, and it seemed like you fucked up because you let it seem like you fucked up because that's what you had to do to be friends. When they figure out the truth, because the truth is going to be known, your friend who you loved, who fucked you over because they had to, is gonna find out that you actually did love them. There had been love there, and your name yet has a ring now, both to them and when your name is heard, because you had been real all along. And our accounts are gonna get settled and discovered at one point. So all I'm saying is just keep it real in this life, and then our name will have a certain ring, and what comes behind that. Life is very sophisticated and dynamic, and we don't know what the hell we got coming except the ring in our name if we're keeping it real. Peace.